Thank you very much, James. Thank you, and welcome to our center. That is such a perfect song for what we're talking about today. I'm just listening to the words, life is meant to be lived, and when stuff happens, don't close your eyes. And it could be that that song was written especially for the person who wrote the book that we are talking about this month. We've been talking about The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. And last week I introduced it by saying that the last lecture is a practice by which professors are invited to give an address, imagining that they had only a certain amount of time to live and they were reflecting on their life and everything that was important to them. And by the time Randy was invited to do that, it was literally going to be his last lecture, because he had received news that he had pancreatic cancer and had a very short time to live. So I'm up to the section in the book entitled Lessons Learned, and he recounts about how after the diagnosis he had dramatic steps taken to address the cancer in his body, invasive surgery where they took out huge parts of his body, followed by heavy doses of chemotherapy, and he lost a tremendous amount of weight and struggled through it. But in the end, it looked like it was going to be okay. It seemed to clear him up. And then he tells in the book about that time when it was around about time to go for his quarterly scan reviews, and he goes in to have it done. And while he and his wife are in the waiting room with the nurse doing the prep work, he notices that the nurse forgets to turn the computer off and leaves his chart and information available. And because he knows his way around computers, he jumped on to look at what was going on. Was they'd noticed the nurse was particularly cheerful, and in fact, I guess she was hiding some of her own discomfort, because what he found on the scan was something like 7 or 10 tumors on his liver. And so in the shock as they sat there with the information, the doctor comes in to the room and verifies that actually that's true, and that their strategy would be shifting from curing to managing, and that he had about 3 to 6 months left to live. Well, he has a flashback in the telling of the story to the day before, where he and his wife and family were at a water park having a good day before they got to the test results review. And this is what he writes. He says to his wife, "Even if the scan results are bad, I just want you to know that it feels great to be alive right now and to be here with you today, alive with you. And whatever news we get about the scans, I'm not going to die when we hear it. I won't die the next day, or the day after that, or the day after that. So, today, right now, well, this is a wonderful day, and I want you to know just how much I'm enjoying it." And then he continues in the book saying, "Then I knew that's the way the rest of my life would need to be lived." And he pretty much did as best he was able. And I just have been so moved by that thinking. Imagine that. Imagine living in every moment, fully aware of the freedom that is inside of it, no matter what is going on. That's why I was thinking of the lyrics from the song James sang to us. When tears and fears arise, when rain and shadows fall, don't close your eyes. Because I take that to mean, in other words, don't shut down because of what's going on around you in the moment. It could very well be that you are here for that particular moment that you're in right now. It's the moment that Ernest Holmes, our founder, describes in our textbook, calling it the eternal now. The only thing you've always got. I've been thinking about our philosophy and how one of the things that concerns me about it is that if we're not mindful, we can use it to lead ourselves away from what is happening right now. Always reaching out for a greater yet to be. When the greatest is here. That's why I enjoy Viktor Frankl so much, the author, the survivor of the Holocaust, who, when he was asked why he wrote his book, he said because he wanted to give us, the readers, a concrete example of, as he says, that life holds potential meaning under any circumstances, even the most miserable. I've taken a lot of strength from that personally. I haven't lived through a concentration camp experience, but I, probably like every single person in this room and on the planet, I faced moments of meaninglessness, times in which things were just plain miserable. You know them. And so I'm aware, like you are, that life can present incredible hardships. Incredible. And hopefully, and the reason why I come to this philosophy over and over again is because hopefully it is teaching me how to navigate through them, while at the same time maintaining a profound sense of self-respect. And even more important than that, a sense of love for one another. Maybe that's the meaning of life. That we can love one another no matter what is going on. A long time ago, I remember having one of those moments of miserableness, and I was complaining to a friend of mine, and I was really getting into it. I was on a roll, explaining the whole thing, and in the midst of it, he said, "Okay, I've heard enough." Excuse me? I'm just getting started. But I realized in that interruption how easy it was for me, how easy it had become for me to slip into a mode of thinking, a style of thinking, and then follow it, and then believe it. And then before long, it's all downhill. It's just going down. At the same time that the sky is blue and magnificent, that my body is doing what it does, and I'm in the presence of somebody who loves me enough to tell me the truth. I realized in that interruption that it's possible for me, without even noticing it, to make a habit of that kind of thinking to the point where it becomes so familiar to me that it's my second nature, and I revert to it as the first line of response to anything and say, that's just how I am. You see, in that moment, I thought that I really had a need to unload on my friend, to work through it, because I had convinced myself. I started to believe that was the sort of process that was necessary. It was natural. It was essential. That somehow if I vented, complained, described all the bitterness, that I would substantially improve my situation. Now, don't get me wrong. I've done some very good talk therapy in my life. And I totally believe in appropriate venting to a professional. But what my friend was doing, he was giving me a tremendous spiritual gift. Because he was saying to me, now, according to your faith that you've chosen, I've heard enough. So tell me now, what is the highest thought you have about this situation that you're complaining about? And that's when I got it. If my thought really is somehow wrapped up in the way I experience the world around me, how life is unfolding around me, then my highest thought of this situation I was describing was pretty bleak. And so why was I expecting an improvement? I wanted an answer, but I only wanted to talk about the problem. I wanted a resolution, but I first wanted to be recognized as being right. I wanted harmony, but I wanted my point of view to be understood. And on it went. All the time, I was missing something important. The moment. I was alive. My heart was beating. And I was in the presence of a friend who loved me. And all the while, I could have been saying something more, like what Randy said to his wife at the water park. So today, right now, well, this is